said to the opponent, hey, look, I'm going to Ibli you for the second time. Is that okay? The opponent's confused. He doesn't know what to do. Guess what he does next? He leaves his chair, he leaves his Yu-Gi-Oh cards on the table, and he walks out the store. And that is just one of the reasons why I think this deck is going to be really insane for next format and the current format. Let's talk about it. Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're doing a deck profile for Spright, one of my favorite decks right now. With the ban list, of course, things have changed. Ronin is actually banned now, but that doesn't mean we can't still play Spright and aim to control the board and then OTK. I am running some new cards in this deck, and I'm proxying one card which I believe is what makes this deck as effective as it is right now. We are using the adventure build, you've obviously seen the title. And with that being said, let's get straight into it. Also, before we get into the actual video, can we just appreciate this playmat? I believe this is Triff Gaming's playmat when Spright released. Obviously, Ronin is banned. RIP, you can see him over there. But nonetheless, this is a really cool map. We've got the Brave Monsters, the Terraments, Albaz. It's a wicked map, man. But yeah, let's get straight into it. I'll start with the monster lineup. So that is 3 Spright Blue. Spright Blue is amazing on summon searches any Spright monster, only on special summon, keep that in mind. And when you are playing the adventure line, you have to keep in mind that you lose your normal summon effect. So there are cases, sometimes, very rarely, where you have to go into normal summon Spright Blue, get rid of it and a monster to summon Spright Elf, then Elf special summons the blue. 3 Spright Jet. Of course, Spright Jet is, the card that does it all, searches the smashers, searches the starters, such as Gamma Burst, which has been the most exciting card I've started to main, and I'm seeing a lot of success with it. And then to top it off, we are running 2 Spright Carrot, 2 Spright Red, and 1 Pixies. Pixies is weird, I'll be honest, but I think you have to keep it in the deck. I think it's just another good Spright name, which is really important. Running these cards out 2 means we have a lot of options in terms of negation, and we can just about cover everything that we want to do in terms of getting rid of the opponent's board. I have these really cool replays that I'm saving up, and if you want to see a video of me doing some dual commentary over this deck, let me know in the comments down below. But yeah, that is the Spright lineup. And then we go into the adventure line. The 3 temples means you just get to see your Rite of Aramazia that much better. And one thing I realized, which I've never done with an adventure style deck before, is we actually summon temple quite a decent bit in this deck. And it just works really well because it gives us that extra body to summon the Spright Elf. And then we're running the Griffin and the Illegal Knight. I think it's fair to say that I'm a big fan of the adventure engine as a whole. Griffin is amazing, you can summon it on the opponent's turn to dodge Dark Will no more. Same thing with the Illegal Knight. The cool thing with the Illegal Knight, however, is one is that extra body that you can surge with the Brave engine, which you might need just for link climbing. The alternative is it can bounce 2 cards, and against Terrament, if you're bouncing Kit Kalos, if you're bouncing Kaleido Heart, you're doing a lot of damage to them. So for that reason alone, Illegal Knight is really good. And next, we are running some hand traps, 2 Nibiru. For pretty much the Terrament matchup, obviously they don't run negation anymore, although they can, it's just very difficult to get into. Nibiru is really great for that reason alone. I'm respecting back row, I'm respecting Runic. I've played a lot of Runic players, and from what I've seen, Ogre's amazing. It also hits the gigantic Spright, and when a Terran player is not paying attention, it might just disrupt their combo. So that's why Ogre's in the deck, but it is a flex pick. I'm not sure if I'll be maining it going into YCS Utrecht. 2 DD Crow, so I'm running a 2-2-2-3 hand trap lineup. I've got 2 DD Crow, again respecting other matchups such as the Tournament one, which I assume will be the most important matchup going forward at YCS Utrecht. So, with the help of these cards, hopefully I can stop the Tournament players from comboing off too much. While Crow's amazing against them, it's very easy. It's a very easy way of stopping something. They have so many starters in their deck, so maybe DD Crow is not the answer. Maybe D Shifter is the answer. Might have to see. Ibli is the showstopper. This card alone has won me so many games, simply because I can loop it on the opponent's turn. I can loop it on my turn. Yes, it doesn't play well into Flunderies, but every other matchup, especially Terrament, especially branded Terrament, this card is insane. And that's pretty much it for the monsters. We're going to move straight up into the spells, and I'll talk a little bit more about those. So we'll go straight into it. Pot of Prosperity running at 2. I don't want to see this card too much. You don't like banishing too much from your extra deck. You could argue this card shouldn't even be in here. But because we're playing a deck that requires pieces like the Adventure line, the Spright line, I think Prosperity is really good. Also, after siding, you can see your broken trap cards, and that's when Prosperity really shines. Running 3 of the Spright starter to tutor out the negation guys, and that's really important. Spright Smashers, and boom, there we go. Spright Gamma Burst. Okay, this card is really good. And I've consistently OTK the crap out of people with this card. Dagasto Phoenix on Spright Gamma Burst is 58, and that just spells game more often than not. One thing I realized is Spright Gamma Burst can banish from the grave to boost any level, link, or rank 2 you control. And that's just another form of, you know, power spike that the deck doesn't really, that people don't really expect for Spright to have. So when you do it, that's game. Some quick power spells: Call by the Grave at 1, Triple Tactics at 1, Harpy's Feather Duster at 1. You might be thinking, okay, why am I playing this at 1? Well, obviously Feather Duster is at 1, respecting back row decks, respecting Floodgates and Runic. Tournament players can main Skill Drain and other Floodgates. Purely for that reason alone, I am going to decide to, yeah, main the Feather Duster. You could argue I could do Cosmic Cyclone, but I think Duster is really powerful. And in those Floodgate Eldritch style matchups, it's amazing. Call by the Grave, we need to stop hand traps. If someone ogres our Gigantic, it's really difficult to play on from that. Or if someone tries to hand trap our Gigantic in any other way, Call by the Grave is really clutch. I'm running the 1 talents because the deck was at 39 and I just threw in 1 card. If there's 1 card I'd like to resolve that I don't see too much of, is Triple Tactics talent. The times it did resolve, it's great, but I'll be honest, playing the tournament matchup, they don't run hand traps. So you could argue this card is really dead. That said, you know, I think it's still great, and going second, it's amazing. You can steal monsters, steal the Kaleido Heart, link it away. Ratio, I'm not running 3 right of Maze. I just didn't want to see it too much, I'll be honest with you. Running 2 is decent, and we have Temple anyway as well. So that is the Brave package I'm running. To round it off, we're running triple Infinite Impermanence. So Infinite Impermanence is great, and I would argue probably the best hand trap right now in the format. It is a hand trap that doesn't trigger Triple Tactics talent as well, keep that in mind. And I think the most important thing about it is you can stop the Kit Kalos, which is really really good. You know, that's a power spike they get, which you can flatten down with Infinite Permanence. There's the Ultimate Rare, by the way, in 4K. I'm so glad I pulled this ages ago. Looks proper nice. Some very quick considerations that some people are running, which I've seen is quite successful, is the Nimble line. 2 Anglers, 3 Beavers. Okay, you've noticed in my deck, there are some discrepancies where, you know, cards don't really have to be in there. You could argue the Beaver Angler line should be in there. And it kind of does make sense, especially when you think about Foolish Burial as well. And how Faithful sends a monster from hand to grave, triggering 2 Beavers, which is just disgusting. And you know what, I would agree with you. It's something I'm testing, but for now, I've found this to be arguably easily the most successful version. And with that being said, let's get straight into the extra deck, which is very interesting. Okay, so the extra deck, we're running 3 Spright Elves with Ronin Band, with Toad, you know, being something that's really difficult to get into. I think 3 Elf is the way to go. You would always notice you need the 3rd one, and for that reason alone, we're running it at that ratio. And then we'll just segue into the, I want to say, Link 2 extenders, the Link 2 bridges. So I'm running Pit Knight early. I've been testing it a lot. This card is worded in one of the weirdest ways possible, and for that reason alone, it's on the chopping board if I was to cut something out. However, I really believe in this card, and I think it's got a lot of potential. And the fact it comes back at the end phase as a Link 2 extender, as a Link 2 body, means we have no issues going to access code, no issues going into a 3200 Gigantic, maybe doing a Gamma Burst OTK potentially. We have some boss monsters, pseudo boss monsters, a Nightmare Unicorn to ensure the Iblis stays in the field and keeps locking the opponent. Avermax, you know, IP Avermax is still amazing. It's very difficult for Telement to deal with it. For that reason alone, they were teching the Zeraboros Fairytale Snow. But now that Snow's banned, I wonder if they can even deal with Avermax anymore. Are people in Utrecht going to run Broadlord Dragon? I'm not really sure. Access code, I recently acquired this card, and, you know, this card is amazing. It does it all. It's very infamous for what it's known for. Popping the field, enabling OTKs. We love to see that kind of stuff. And then one more boss monster, Underworld, Goddess of the Closed World. In my opinion, I think you can't play Spright without this card, because you can spam so many bodies, because the Spright guys are kind of weak. Next, we are running Gigantic Spright, and this is a proxy, by the way, for Daigusto Phoenix. It's just arriving in the mail. I'm just waiting for it. But you could also argue that Onibimaru Soul Sweeper could be in the extra deck. But for me, I've decided to run the Daigusto Phoenix. And it's one of the ways I easily OTK people. So we only run 2 Gigantic Spright, which I think every Spright player does anyway. I have noticed that I want the 3rd one, but that's in really niche scenarios. So for that reason alone, I'm not running it. And then Downed Magician and Zeus. So yeah, I mean, Zeus is a no-brainer in any Exceed-based deck. But I'll be completely honest with you, I don't go into Zeus that much. I really don't. And I think with the Adventure Land, you kind of don't need to. That said, having the Downed Zeus is amazing against control decks. It does trigger the Telement, so you got to keep that in mind. But it can sometimes be enough to win the game because it's second effect thanks to the Downed Magician. I like to think I've got the core of the Spright extra deck down. And I think if you play these cards, you're going to have a lot of success, especially the Daigusto Phoenix and the 3 Spright Elf. So typically, I don't like to share side decks too often just because they're very, very subjective and they're very dependent on your locals or tournament or just what you have lying around. as well as the meta, obviously. I'm not going to elaborate too much on it, but we are running 3 evenly. This is arguably the best side deck card, the best trap card in the game right now, because Tournament don't set up Omni Negates. And if they do, it's, you know, evenly is still good. That's the point, right? Evenly is able to wipe out the whole board. Has always been great against Branded, decent against Spright because they're not running the Toad as much. And for that reason alone, evenly is just amazing. So if you have it, run it. Next, running some, I want to say, you know, we are respecting the Mystic Mines, the Mystic Mine Burn, the Runic, Spright Runic, all that good stuff. We're respecting them by playing the 2 Cyclones and the 1 Unending Nightmare. So you know what, I'm the kind of player that I need to always test out these techie cards and I need to see it through. I might not even end up playing this for Utrecht, but I have a lot of faith in this card and I think it's really good. And I think it will catch a lot of people off guard. In the Runic matchup, they don't really kill you via life points. They try to deck you out. So for that reason alone, we can just spam the Unending, keep destroying the Runic field spells, and Hugin can't do anything. So yeah, Unending Nightmare is amazing. Speaking of Runic, we are running 3 anti-spell. So Spright has been infamously known for losing to Darkwing no more. So I'm respecting that personally. Lightning Storm is really scary. Feather Duster can be scary because we do set up some back row sometimes. It's these niggas Runic. Actually, well, it shuts out the whole Runic strategy. And again, just respecting that matchup. I want to say it's good against Flunderies because the field spell is really good. They main Darkwing no more. They play 3 of the 3 pot draw cards. So you're going to shut down a lot of their momentum. Exorcista, I'm not quite sure. But for the rest of the matchups, I think this card is really, really strong. And then we are running some strange cards in the side deck. It's 2 Ash Blossom. So because I'm running the 2-2-2-3 hand trap ratio in the main deck, which is at 9 total, and I'm running Ash in case the Ogre is not as powerful in, say, a Branded Tournament matchup, where Ogre is literally the worst hand trap in the game, so I would take it out for an Ash Blossom. And you know what? Ash Blossom's not bad. It hurts the Runic draw 3. It hurts a lot of stuff in the game. Hurts Branded Fusion, which I expect will make a return thanks to the ban list. And then next, running 3 Drawn Lockbird. You know, what I always say about Drawn Lockbird is also shouts to the 3 rarities. It's not because I couldn't decide, I just don't know where all my Drawn Lockbirds are. The kind of hand trap where if you know it will win in that matchup and it resolves, they can't do anything at all. So for that reason alone, we're running the Drawn Lockbird. Obviously, it's not going to be great against Tournament, but against Flunder, it's insane. Against arguably Runic Spright, it's insane. Against Runic, it's really good too. They can't combo off with all the like +9 draws, for example. So Drawn Lockbird is really good in that scenario. And it's just kind of decent against Dragon Link. Actually, no, it's really good against Dragon Link and other decks that play Adventure. And then to round it off, obviously, we have to run the Red Resonator, Mystic Mine Burn, Tournament combos. There's a lot of decks in the game right now that take a long time doing their turns. And unfortunately, you do run into time quite a lot. So we just need to keep that in mind as a competitive player and run the Red Resonator, which is actually a decent card to just play in the deck. Obviously, it clashes with the Brave line, but you can specially off of Gigantic, gain 3200, or you can just normal summon it and special a Spright monster from the hand, which is really, really good and frees up that effect of that Spright monster to special summon. So that's the side deck lineup. Some things I want to change is maybe thinking about cross out Designator, but I don't want to be tempted. That's the kind of card I use in all my decks, but I'm starting to stop doing that. I just don't think it's that powerful really, unless you're playing Tournament maybe. So that's been the Spright Adventure list with the Ibli combo. I think the Adventure line is really, really powerful, and because it didn't get hit on the ban list, it's at full power. It's able to deal with floodgates, able to deal with runic stuff, and I think just all around it helps with OTKs because you got 2 2K bodies on the field, sometimes 3, and we haven't even started talking about the Spright Gamma Burst combo with the Dagasto Phoenix, which is very easy to pull off. So I hope you guys enjoyed the deck profile. If you liked the video, make sure to drop a like. Helps trying to get noticed, and share this to other people who are maybe thinking of playing Spright Adventure. I think this deck is going to be even better in Darkwing Blast once Spright Sprint comes out. And that being said, guys, catch you in the next one. Peace.